Using a 19mm socket, go ahead and remove your lug nuts. With the lug nuts removed, we'll go ahead and remove the wheel, set that aside. We're going to grab our brake assembly here. I'm going to go ahead and crank that out. It's going to make it easier for us to work on this. I'm going to start with our 14mm socket. We're going to remove our slider pin bolts here. Before we remove this unit here, we want to loosen our flex line bolt. And then we'll snug that back up. The reason why we loosen this here now is that we have some leverage holding the caliper, and we're going to have to disconnect this when we replace the caliper unit. So that just breaks it free for us, makes it easier to do it by hand. Go ahead and remove your slider pin bolts here. Work the caliper off. And we're going to go ahead and use our caliper hanger. Let that hang off to the side. Using our 17mm socket and breaker bar, we're going to loosen our caliper bolts, or caliper bracket bolts. Using a 14mm socket, we're going to remove our 2 slider pin bolts. Separate our caliper from the bracket. Now I want to go ahead and inspect our slider pins here. I'm going to slide our slider pins off of the rubber boot. Pop these off, and we're going to do an inspection. Make sure there's enough grease on here. There's a very little amount of grease on these here. We're just going to add a little bit more. I'll slide this back in. And go ahead and repeat for the other side. Just going to use my small pick here to work that back off the slider pin, get that boot peeled back. Taking our caliper bracket, we're going to apply a light coat of grease in here. I'm going to take our shims, going to line these up and pop these into place. Just going to install our caliper bracket. Go ahead and take your inboard pad. Go ahead and line that up and pop that into place. And go ahead and install your outboard pad. Go ahead and grab your caliper, remove it from the hanger. And you want to have a catch can or your rags underneath. Let's go ahead and remove our flex line. The brake fluid will come out. I want to go ahead and remove the bolt. Make sure that there is no washer on the inboard or outboard side. We're going to feed our bolt through with one new copper washer there. Put the other copper washer on the other side. Go ahead and line up the bolt. I'm going to get this started on here. And let's go ahead and snug that down. With that snug, go ahead and grab your towels. Wipe up some of the residual fluid that had leaked out. With that clear, go ahead and line up your caliper, slide this into place. Let's go ahead and get our bolts in the top and get those snugged down. Install our caliper bolts here. Get the upper one installed. Let's go ahead and snug these down. I'm going to go ahead and tighten down our flex line bolt. Snug that down. Always do an inspection to see if there's any residual fluid, anything leaking out. Ours looks good. Let's tighten down our caliper bracket bolts here to 79 foot-pounds. Do the same for the upper. Let's torque down our caliper bolts to 37 foot-pounds. Now that we have our caliper complete, you want to go ahead and hop in the vehicle, pump up the brakes. You want to make sure that the brake pedal feels good. Then open up the hood and check your brake fluid level. Add it as necessary. Now what I want to do is pop off our little rubber bleeder screw cap here. We're going to use a pick. Pop this off. And here's our bleeder screw. We're going to go ahead and open this up using our 10mm wrench here. I'm just going to open that just a little bit. Now we're going to give this a few minutes for the brake fluid to come through, fill up the piston unit itself, and then start to come out. Once that fluid starts to come out, we'll go ahead and tighten this up, clean it up, and we'll go ahead and proceed to our next step. Now that we have brake fluid coming out, I'm going to go ahead and tighten up our bleeder screw. Just snug it up. You want to wipe this down. Go ahead and put our cap on. Let's go ahead and install your wheel. Get our lug nuts all started by hand first, and then we'll snug those down. I'm going to go ahead and torque our lug nuts to 80 foot-pounds.